Hey, what's up? It's Brian here, and in this video I'm going to explain the meaning behind the song I just did, Powerful Cowards. And I'm going to play parts of the song right now so you can hear the lyrics in the song and then hear me talk about it right after. So let's get right into it.
Our world is filled with powerful cowards right now. People either doing or condoning the wrong thing, hurting the world, communities, and themselves. And if I'm not talking about you, then stay on that side. And if I'm talking about you, then let's go for a ride.
Okay, so that first part is pretty much self-explanatory. I think there's a lot of cowards out there, people doing the wrong thing or seeing the wrong thing being done and not saying anything about it. And that second part of that is way more prevalent nowadays too. And no, I only quote one person directly in this song, as I'll go into later. So the rest is up to you to interpret. And it's really important, that last line that I say too, where if I'm talking about you, only you will know, right? So really be mindful of that. And if I'm not talking about you, then keep on being courageous. Keep on calling out those powerful cowards out there and doing the right thing. That's really important. Then that last part that I said, let's go for a ride. So I put that to emphasize that to people that maybe I'm even calling out in a video like this. You know, if I know you in person or, you know, I just know of you, know that my personality is really the personality where I want to have dialogue with the person that I might disagree with, the person that I might condemn their behavior, right? So the let's go for a ride sort of thing, that's really me just trying to encourage people to have dialogue with people that they even may disagree with, that they may even have problems with. So I think that's really important to really foster change and positive impact, to be honest. So let's continue with the song.
Let's start with mainstream media. If only we could call up Expedia. All they do is encourage negativity instead of promoting civility.
Alright, so those few lines I said, so that's so prevalent today, and partly because the media wants to make money, as I'll go into in a line coming up. But so for example, they really do this with death. So you go on local news, ABC News, CNN, mainstream media, MSNBC, Fox, they're always highlighting someone dying. You know, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, death is really the lead story most of the time. And the other thing, why is this? Like, why is this so negative, right? It doesn't have to be like that. And a lot of times they twist maybe even events that are positive and negative, and they'll only frame the negative part of that event. So I see this all the time. You go on, you know, CNN on my phone, and the headline, they might show a picture of literal like fire in the background or some lady like screaming in pain or something. And it doesn't even matter what the reason is. They're always trying to highlight negativity, sadness, drama, all that stuff, right? So you really have to be conscious of that. And I go into this too on my See Humor channel, where I actually do a skit on negative news. So if you're kind of not clear what I'm talking about, check out that video. I'll link that below. And I also do a skit on positive news on that See Humor channel, where I talk about the idea you can talk about adversity, negative things, maybe things you want to change or address, but you have to talk about those things in a very solution-based way, in an empowering way. And the media, they're not really concerned about that at all right now, so I call that out in this song.
All about censorship and want you to jump the ship, force you in your drama just for the drama, act like they care when they not even fair.
So the media, they really play with people's emotions, and you really have to be conscious of this. And what's so sinister about it is they frame these stories a lot of times in an extremely negative way. So they put this trauma onto people, and they make generalizations too. So say a bad thing happens to one person, then they say, oh, this thing happens to everybody that looks like that person, or everyone from that group. So then everyone from that group that's watching, who is maybe not able to think for themselves, or is maybe a child, then they adopt that negative mindset because they think it's happening to them too. So I see this a lot, and they do this to Black people specifically. This is part of the systemic racism, in my opinion, that I talked about in a past video I did, also a video I did titled Stop Trying to Hold Black People Down. I'll reference that below. So again, the media, mainstream media, they try to ignite fear, trauma, negativity in Black people in the United States. I see this a lot through media. I go on my phone, I see that I go watch news, I see that. So it's very clear to me that that's what's happening. And a lot of the time on CNN, MSNBC, to call out two news stations in particular, they frame this often as, oh, I'm just the messenger, right? I'm just reporting the news. I'm just sharing what's going on. But what they fail to realize is often they're the only messenger. Like these things a lot of times that they highlight, they're not a daily experience that anyone in this country faces, right? Specifically when you talk about police, say, shooting people that are unarmed or that sort of thing. If you look at the statistics, that kills 10, 20 people in the whole United States. But you watch the news, you'll think that's happening every day. It's not, right? And what's so sinister about this too is they might highlight that, but then say another thing, say murder in the inner city. That might kill, I don't know the numbers, but it might be like 10,000 people in a given year. They don't give that any news coverage whatsoever besides the local news. But mainstream media, they don't really talk about that stuff. They talk about something that might kill 20 people in a year, right? So that's how you know they're full of shit. That's how you know they don't really care about black people. They don't care about actually helping anybody, right? Because again, if you talk about issues where that kills 10,000 people, you can actually form solutions to fix those issues to maybe reduce that number by 10, 20%, save thousands of lives. You can do that. You have the power as mainstream media to influence politicians, to influence reform in a city. You have that influence. But instead, often they focus on something that kills 20 people per year, knowing full well that's not going to save anybody's life, the reform that they're talking about and the stuff that they're talking about, right? So I don't want to get on a tangent. I mean, I talk about this in the racism series I did in some other videos too, but you really have to be aware of that. And I want to go a little bit deeper with this too from the psychology standpoint of it. So like I said in a previous video, the media often, by highlighting negativity, they instill in a child's psyche, in a person's psyche, that someone will hurt them when they grow up, that someone will symbolically blow out their candle, right? But you have to realize that most often, no one actually blows out someone's candle. What blows out someone's candle, which when I say candle, I'm talking about their aspirations in life, their ambitions in life, their positivity in life, their empowerment in life, right? The person who blows that out is often the messenger telling them someone will blow that out, right? No one actually does. But when you tell someone someone's out to get you, someone's going to hold you back, you're going to experience this situation in the future. They're going to be paranoid about it. They're going to see bad stuff that's not actually there. They're going to be on guard. They're going to make excuses for themselves. They're going to have a crush, all that stuff, right? So for me, raising a mixed child especially, that's what I'm fighting against. I don't want them to turn on the news and see, oh, this news person saying black people should be scared for their lives. Like, no, they should not. No, they should not. Fear is not a positive character trait at all. If you're trying to instill that in anyone, you have sinister intentions, period. Right? So you really have to fight that, period. Because I don't want my son to drown in victimhood like so many young children, especially black children, are doing nowadays. Right? And the media is playing with people's emotions, and it's despicable to me. And I'm specifically referencing black people here because that's what's going on, so I'm going to call it out. I'm going to call out the systemic racism going on from mainstream media, period. So on to the next part of the song.
Just worried about their bottom line as long as it goes in line. It vibes with the time, and no way is that fine. Maybe within the right, but it doesn't make it right.
Yeah, so that's a major point too. The media, as I said before, they just want to make money. They care about their bottom line, so they're going to sensationalize headlines without caring about the impact that it makes on people watching, again, especially children. So the media will never call out people in power, or if they do, they'll only do it if other media is doing it, right? They might throw someone under the bus, but they'll only do it if everyone's doing it. No person on mainstream media is going to step up to the plate and, do the right thing. They're always going to do what the headmaster, the CEO of the company is telling them to do or something like that, right? So they're all puppets pretty much. And by them making money under that sort of system, they're just perpetuating it pretty much. And the vibes with the time comment. So that means that a lot of times the news, they say things that is maybe quote unquote acceptable now to mainstream, but they don't say things that often is the truth, or that even the individual person saying that on the news knows is the truth. They might say something that they know is fake and misguided, but they'll say it because it's their job, right? So you really got to fight that. And this is kind of tied to the idea, in the 1900s, there was sexism, racism very prevalent out there in entertainment, on TV, commercials and stuff. And a lot of times people just went along with it because it was just a sign of the times. Like, oh, I'm not going to say anything because, this sexist commercial, this is just how it was. So that's why I just participated in it, right? Like me stereotyping my own race, that's just something that people did back then. So, 1940s a movie, I'm just going to do this sort of thing, right? But then in hindsight, you can always call that person out, like, why were you doing that? Right? And often they know it's wrong, but they make the excuse, oh, it's just how it was back then. Like, no, I refuse to condone that sort of behavior. So that's why I said vibes with the time, right? Mainstream media, they do all this stuff because it vibes with the time, knowing full well that it might be the wrong thing. So you got to call that out when you see it for sure.
They are powerful cowards. I can go on for hours. No, I'm not sour. I'm just not going to cower. I'm just not going to cower.
So I know for this part I said I'm not sour, but I just want to define that a little bit because I am pissed off. I do have a certain level of frustration and anger about what I'm seeing, all the powerful cowards out there. But what I mean mostly is I'm calm about it. I've got my temperament in check. I feel like I can think clearly about the issues going on, and I don't let my emotions or my rage control me when I'm thinking about these things. So that's what I mainly meant by that statement. So let's get back to the video.
Who's next? Here's a clue. If you're not on their side, then they say bye.
Yeah, so for this, it's referencing the fact that the quote-unquote us versus them mentality is so prevalent right now in life and in politics. So it's like some people, they're just so reluctant to even have a dialogue with someone who they may disagree with or someone from another group. And once you lose the ability to talk to someone that maybe is not like you or thinks differently than you, then conflict just keeps on manifesting, right? Peace and progress is halted. So that's really important to understand, I believe.
Talking to the corrupt politicians, please stop posing as magicians because y'all more like morticians.
Yeah, so for this part, I was referencing the fact that so many politicians, they're in it for themselves, right? Not every single one, but a lot of them are. And you can really tell, the number one telltale sign is they just talk fake. They just talk fake. Like, if you're real and you can kind of, notice when someone is speaking truth and maybe their actions and words are in alignment with what they've always thought from a value standpoint, right? I'm not saying you can't change your mind on things, but I'm talking about from a value standpoint. You should be consistent throughout your life, right? So if you see any discrepancy there in terms of authenticity, then they're just being fake. And you can spot that pretty quickly when you hear some politicians speak. So the corruption in politics is just very prevalent. And I'm not just talking about in the United States, I'm talking about all over the world. People in power, a lot of times they're in it for themselves to make money or, bribes for one reason or another, just the prestige of being empowered. So sometimes they pose themselves as magicians, like, oh, I can save you, right? I can just give you all this money, right? But they're more like morticians. And I don't mean precisely they actually kill people directly or even maybe consciously even realize that they're creating more death, but they oversee a lot of death. And the reason is because there's just so much negativity in the world, right? And I believe, of course, not all of it can be eradicated fully. That's impossible. But there's a percentage that can be. When you talk about any subject that's violence related or murder related or just serious related, right? The prevalence of child sex trafficking, slavery in different parts of the world, inner city violence, gun violence in the United States. A lot of times politicians, they talk the talk maybe when it's comfortable, but very often they don't really come up with positive solutions to these things. And I think if they put more effort into it, and honestly, if they really cared at a deep enough level and stood up and was courageous about actually solving the major issues that is going on, maybe even going against maybe someone from their own political party or maybe, their friend or someone that they're around, and maybe just standing up above the crowd. People don't do that often as politicians. They're cowards. So I really call them out in this song for that very reason.
Two set on traditions instead of quoting auditions for ideas and ambitions. In fact, let me talk to admissions because I got some additions with no hidden condition.
Yeah, so for this part, I just believe that the government in general just needs way more innovation, way more creativity, right? You got to really embrace new ideas and hear them out. And I'm not saying you need to embrace every single new idea, right? Some new ideas, like anything in life, might not make any sense. So you don't want to adopt those, but you want to be open to those ideas. And I mentioned some of these ideas specifically in a past video I did too, right before the election, where the video was titled "If I Was President," and I talk about some specific things I would do as president of the United States. So I'm gonna link that video down below if you want to check out some of my ideas from a presidential or political standpoint.
Next up, the powerful cowards who participate in, encourage, or condone foolishness. I know I wasn't born down in ditches or up there in riches, but I can still call out the witches who keep on saying bitch and stuff like stitches get stitches, man. Y'all sound like glitches who can't stop with the twitches.
So the reason why I said that beginning part, like I'm not from riches and I'm not from ditches, but I can still say this stuff, is because the identity of who you are, it doesn't really matter when you're talking about the things that you're talking about, right? Like, of course, your life experiences lead to you forming the conclusions and the thoughts and the words that you speak, but the words themselves, they can be evaluated at face value because they're words, right? So that's why I put that there. And people who say curse words too, like the B word, they're just perpetuating that negativity. I don't think many people realize the negativity that maybe degrading someone by that name is causing, right? It's extremely bad, of course, when a male says the B word to a female, but it's also bad when I think a female internalizes it, right? And they might frame it maybe as, oh, they're taking the word back, but if they're really honest with themselves, they're not. They're just making the word more prevalent in society, and that's still negative in my opinion. And the term snitches get stitches. So I said that this is like glitches because often when you might ask someone maybe, why are you saying this, or why do you believe this mantra? They might freeze. They might just totally freeze, or they might say something like, oh, they just said it as a joke or something like that, which is pretty much admitting that they're making a joke out of death, right? Which is so negative when you truly think about it. Or if they're not making a joke about it, then they actually believe it, right? Maybe they're scared of retaliation if they say anything, or maybe they just have bad intentions. So to someone that believes and manifests and thinks the term stitches get stitches is cool and should still be popular in mainstream, I would love to see you talk to a mother or father in the hood, say, who had a 16-year-old child or a 19-year-old child get shot dead, right? I would love to hear you tell them you're too cowardice to tell authorities which evil cowardice dude thought it was alright to target someone to kill them or shoot into a crowd to kill someone, all because you're scared yourself of retaliation, right? I would love to hear you tell someone that face to face, right? So my point is that the term snitches get stitches is pretty much just cowards protecting cowards. It really is. And I think until we as a society call a statement like that for what it is, and then not much will be solved when it comes to transforming wrong from right. When transforming maybe inner city gun violence in general to right? Because a lot of these cases, they're never gonna get solved because good people do nothing, right? They just perpetuate the negative system of maybe not telling anything when you know maybe who shot up someone, right? And it's so commonplace in culture today, so that's why I said twitches, right? People just do it unconsciously. They say things like this and they perpetuate that negative culture, sometimes unconsciously. So you have to call that shit out. You really do. Because if you see something bad, you gotta fucking do something about it. You really do. Because the way to root out evil in the world by any positive means necessary is to call out things that you know is wrong, right? If you know doing something will lead to something right, then you better go do it. And if you're not actively trying to do that, then please do not tell me, do not try to convince me that you believe in any sort of God. Do not try to convince me that you're a good person, because you're not, right? So until we as society can call out these powerful cowards out there, these cowardice people out there that don't step up to do what's right, and then negativity, cowardice, evil will continue to be prevalent. And right now, man, so many people, they're scared as you know what to say anything about these things. And it's despicable to me. Because my son is 1 year old, man. In 20 years, I don't know where the U.S. is going to be in regards to gun violence, in regards to people doing negative behavior, in regards to people doing the wrong thing and the cowards out there. Man, I just really hope we turn things around. I know the 50 people maybe watching this, look, hopefully you change things around and you motivate people around you, because it's going to take a lot of us to really change things around for the better, in my opinion. So let's get back to the song and away from my rant.
Man, breathe the breeze. All y'all do is appease and follow the wannabes, including the addictive fleas, who all they do is tease and take all the fees. Sellouts all over like Cardi B, who really are just Barbie C. Yo no hablo español, but yo hablo eso.
So I said the term breathe the breeze because I think a lot of times people, they just need to go outside their environment and maybe see how things are on the other side, right? And this is in regards to both ways. So say you grew up in poverty. Sometimes you might think, oh, all this negativity, this maybe violence in my community, this is how the world is, right? But sometimes you gotta venture out of there and see, oh, there's other communities where there's maybe more positive things going on, right? I don't just have to, follow this gang lifestyle. I can go to college. I can do all these great things, right? So getting out of your element is really important. And it's also on the other side. So say you grew up in a very privileged lifestyle. Maybe you're rich, that sort of thing. And you're not really familiar with maybe all the adversity in a place where there's a lot of poverty or that sort of thing. So you're very ignorant to stuff going on there. Even though maybe you have a lot of money and you're trying to give back, or maybe you are a really kind person, you want to impact people, but you don't even know how because you're not aware. So you need to venture outside yourself, meet a diverse group of people, right? So that's with both areas, from poor to rich and rich to poor, to simplify, where you got to breathe the breeze and step out of your comfort zone. And people want to appease. So this is so prevalent. So many young people are like this. Where they just try to be popular, they want street cred or just popularity in school. And oftentimes people, they follow the wannabes. And this can be people in school or just celebrities, famous people you see on TV. And I say wannabes mainly from a mental health standpoint. So people might present themselves as they got everything together. They're happy, they've got all this stuff going on. But look, if you really talk to people, there's a lot of sad people out there, sad famous people out there even. So you really want to notice that, right? That's why you gotta follow your own intuition, I believe, in your heart, and goal set for yourself through your own self-reflection, and don't really follow anyone else that specifically for that reason. And then I call out Cardi B in this song, of course. I call her out a couple videos back in the video I did where I'm condemning some trashy music. And the reason that I did this is because a lot of her music, to not go into it too much, she encourages bullying, associating your self-worth with your body and stuff like that. And this is just so despicable because you have to realize teen pregnancy, toxic youth relationships, suicide rate, bullying is at an all-time high right now. And Cardi B's music is not contributing anything to those things in a positive direction. It's contributing it in a negative direction. And you might be thinking, well, Brian, how can you call her a sellout? How do you know that? Well, I know that because she basically acknowledged it. So if you're paying attention to maybe things going on, then you'll notice it. And let me reference someone very specifically. So Candace Owens, she called her out online pretty much saying, look, you're a bad influence to young black girls. Do you have anything to say about that pretty much? And no lie, her tweet, word for word, in response to that was, I hope you speak more about WAP, her song. Any exposure will help. So in response to literally someone calling her out saying, you negatively impact youth, what are you going to say about it? She can't even refute it. She goes to money. That's her first response. That's the definition of a sellout. You're going for money instead of positively impacting people. That's literally what a sellout is. So she admits that in her response. And she had a couple other responses that I was trying to find on her Twitter feed, but I think she may have deleted them, so I couldn't find them. But as I was going on her Twitter, I actually literally saw the last thing she pinned when I was prepping for this video was some lyric from her song, which was, B words want smoke till I bring it to their doorstep, tell that B word back, breath smell like horse sex. So look, if my point wasn't clear already, my point is this: how is that a positive message? How? The last thing that teenagers need to hear is someone encouraging them to fight someone when there's conflict, someone encouraging them to name call someone, right? Someone encouraging them to do stuff like call another female the B word, right? She's normalizing it with all of this stuff, and it is a despicable sort of thing because the mental health of young people is the most important thing right now, right? So that's just mind-boggling to me when bullying is so prevalent in middle school and high school right now, and she's saying lyrics and songs like this, and then she might wonder, oh, what am I doing wrong? Look, your lyrics are your lyrics. How is this not obvious that a teenager hearing this is not bullying someone in school? No, they're being encouraged to bully someone in school, right? And then people wonder why the suicide rate is so high. Culture is not the only reason, but it is a reason where people look up to people like this that perpetuate literal bullying. right? So you really have to be conscious of that. And anyone who tries to make money at the expense of benefiting society, I will call you out, period. And I say Barbie C because she's a Barbie in that she's either fake in a character, right? Or she just presents herself as very basic and she's superficial, right? So honestly, it's a little bit hard to sell. Like, does she recognize that she's just making money off all this stuff, or is she actually just that superficial? It's not very clear. I mean, the fact that people have called her out on it and she's still doing the same old thing makes me think she is aware at this point, but she just keeps on doing it because she wants to make money, right? So then I put C on the end, Barbie C, right? That rhymes with Cardi B, but it's also a play on words, as you can tell from the line after, where C is yes in Spanish, of course. But I'm saying yes, I did call her Barbie, right? So that's something that I said there. And then I say yo hablo a soul. So I say I speak a soul. I speak my soul, right? So everything I say is coming from my soul, from my heart. And honestly, not to sound self-righteous, but I really feel like God speaks through me at times. So that's what I meant too by speak my soul, speak a soul, my soul. So that's also partly why I fear nothing less, especially no man or women, but I don't want to get on, any more of a tangent because this video is going to be long as hell. All right, back to the song.
It's not about your money roll or how many people scroll. It's about servanthood goals and paying your breath toll.
So life is not about money. It's not about popularity. Though money is important, it's secondary. It should be secondary to positive impact and servicing people, in my opinion. And the term, I said, paying your breath toll. So that's in reference to Muhammad Ali, actually, in his famous quote, at least to me, is service to others is rent you pay for room on earth. So I think that's really important. And I really think that people in power, they have even more of a duty to serve people because they can really have a lot of positive impact because of the positions that they do have. So let's get back to the song.
So we're gonna call out the cold dealers and instead promote hope healers, for positivity appealers, and not intention concealers. Because this is not a joke. So many people broke and crying smoke. Let's just buy coke and follow the wolf and just choke.
Yeah. So it's really important, I believe, to frame this conversation as serious. As serious. Like, it's not a laughing matter. And a lot of times people, they joke about the stuff I'm talking about. Right? Like, if you want humor, go on my See Humor channel. Like, I have a, I would say funny sense of humor. Some people might think it's weird, but hey, check out that channel to judge for yourself. But things like generational poverty, violence, bullying, poor mental health, child abuse, lack of two parents' homes, poor parenting nowadays, like, these are as serious as it gets. So we need all hands on deck to promote positive messages and call out those cowards that are maybe either promoting negative messages or just condoning negative messages. And the term I said, crying smoke. So this is tied to the fact that a lot of people, they're depressed right now. And mental health is going downhill. A lot of people, they cry their problems away too through drugs at times. And just by coke. So that's not as much in reference to the drug coke. I was mainly referencing the soda coke, actually. Because I believe diet is so important. And so many young people, they just drink soda. And look, that's just so negative. For you focusing in school, for you being in optimal physical condition, like, you've got to drink more water. Like, there's a really important connection between diet and your mental health that I don't think enough people really consider, in my opinion. And then the follow the woke thing. So woke is a term that people define differently, to be honest. So me, I'm kind of defining it as celebrities or artists that are out of touch, that maybe think they're smarter than they are, that might do counterproductive things, that maybe are narcissists too, that speak for a group when they really should be speaking for themselves, that maybe don't think logically, that maybe think they're always right. So a combination of all those things. And I've noticed that people that follow these sort of people, oftentimes they go down a destructive path. They crumble in life. And sometimes from a mental health standpoint, they're a mess too. Right? So you have to be conscious of that. The people you have to follow are the people that are really trying to make you your best self, that aren't concerned with telling you, oh, all the problem is out here and don't focus on yourself. No, following those people will lead to you not self-developing as a person. Why? Because those people literally are not encouraging self-development. So you need to follow people online, ideally your parents are the first role models in your life, but you can always have more additional ones online. Follow those people that promote self-responsibility, that promote positivity, that promote real change, right? Those are people that you have to follow. And even for me too, I want to reference something. Some people thinking this, or some people watching some of my videos, they might think I'm one of the woke ones. Like I think, oh, I'm always right and that sort of thing. And look, I can see how, in terms of, you might think that I think I'm always right. I can see how you might think that. Why? Because this is YouTube. Because I just talk. But because you never see me talking with anyone else. You never see me in an environment with other people. Right? But if you know me, you'll know I'm the quiet one. I'm the one, when I'm around people, I listen to them. I'm not in a rush to prove myself right. I'm not in a rush to validate my opinion on things. What I am concerned about is learning. That's always number one. Right? So I really try to adopt and stay committed to that mentality. And I believe by having that mentality, wanting to learn, not always trying to validate my opinion, then I'm open-minded to the point where I'm not always trying to be right at times and I can admit when I'm wrong. So that's a really important mindset to have. And really, you just have to follow a diverse group of people too, right? If you just listen to one side, then you might be programmed to think that side, or you might think that you think that side, but deep down you might not actually believe that side, right? Sometimes if you listen to another perspective, you'll be like, I actually agree with this other person a little bit more. Maybe that's actually how I think. Then you'll self-reflect more, get to your more authentic conclusion from there. And really, again, people, they choke when they follow the wrong people in life, right? And you have to understand that adversity is constant, right? So you crumbling at adversity, that's no one's fault but yours, because toughness is consistency. Toughness is oftentimes going on through stuff, and people don't even know they are going on through adversity. That's what toughness is a lot of the time. So look, if you want to really manifest your greatest self, a lot of times you don't want to follow people that, are out of touch with this self-development process. All my opinion, of course. So let's get back to the song.
They are powerful cowards. I can go on for hours, and no, I'm not sour. I'm just not going coward. Are you? Stop following the fleet and going for every treat. Instead, eat something like meat and don't be tempted to cheat.
So people are always following the masses in life. And I've always noticed this, honestly. And I believe even since middle school, maybe even 4th or 5th grade, I've really been powerful alone. I've been comfortable doing my own thing. I've really never followed people, at least since I was like 8 or 9. Like I really understood that at a really early age, that I have to value my authenticity. And I'm not tempted to go for every treat or pleasure too. And for this, I mean in life and food-wise too. So, I mean, food-wise, like you don't want to be tempted for any treat. Actually, this whole year I'm giving up sweets too. But, I'm mainly talking about life too. Treats is like short-term pleasure, right? Like spending 3 hours watching TV instead of studying for a test if you're in school. So that's one example. And like the meat thing, like people got to improve their diet, eat more meat. But of course, I'm not just talking about diet here. I'm talking about having more meaty things in your life. Things of substance, things that give you meaning. Incorporate more of that in your life. Right? So that's really important, obviously, too, for your own self-development. And don't be tempted to cheat. So I'm talking about in a relationship. I'm talking about in life, too. There are no shortcuts to success. You got to put in the work. You got to put in the sacrifice. So let's get back to the lyrics.
Time to take a seat, because I'm bringing the heat, because I got beat with some streets where death takes a back seat. So who's got the best beat and what's on everybody's feet? Man, stop being sweet and do some positive beats.
Yeah, so beef with some streets. So in some circles, people, they don't really care about the violence going on their block or in their community, right? They might just care about superficial things like what they're wearing or how they look or that sort of thing. And again, I'm speaking from experience here. Like, of course, I was in school, so I know how young people act where they just care about superficial stuff. And the last 5 years, I've worked with 18 to 21-year-olds in various capacities. So I've known a lot of young men that were just lost, that followed the wrong things in life, that maybe were wrapped up in misbehaving activities or violence too. And on the rapper things, like people just caring about who's got the best beat sort of thing. So this point I want to frame too, because of course I did a rap. So how am I getting on people rapping when I'm literally rapping in a song? So the point is that you gotta have other plans. You really do. I mean, if you're a child, 14 to 20, you can't be thinking you're gonna be a full-time rapper at age 20, right? Any form of art, whether it's writing, painting, rapping, music, You have a 1 in a million shot at doing this full time, making money when you're 20, 21 years old. Like, you can do that stuff, make it a side hustle to start, right? But don't make it like your number one thing. Like, you gotta have some other plans in your life. You have to be well-rounded. You really do. I mean, even for me, like, I haven't made any money through any of my art, pretty much writing these videos. I'm not getting a dime from these videos. You know, partly that might be because I gotta improve my marketing, but you know, it is very challenging. So you wanna be well-rounded, and too many young people in the hood. And again, I speak from experience with this. I know hundreds of young people that grew up in, you know, poverty or in the hood of Philadelphia, and when I was in college, the town near there too. So I know a lot of people, they do think they're gonna become a rapper. They do think they're gonna, you know, do something that is very unlikely, and they don't really emphasize things where they can actually form a meaningful career out of. So a lot of times they follow people that maybe they see on TV, or just, you know, their friends, they want to do this and they want to do it. And, you know, a lot of times they don't really get to this stage that they ultimately want to in life, and it might take them a while to figure out, when they could have figured it out a little bit sooner if the cowards around them stood up and told them what was the truth. Like, look, it's going to be very challenging to get to this stage. But anyway, the number one issue in communities that sometimes takes a back seat, in my opinion, in the inner city, in Philadelphia where I live, is gun violence, is people shooting each other, is death, right? The only thing that young people have to worry about in this city, the most pressing thing, is death. Like, if you're 12 years old, you can literally die in this city from gun violence. There's no other issue that is that prevalent, that is literally life and death for a person that age. And I talk about this, like, there's several factors for this. And honestly, I think I might do a future video on this. When I say future video, I mean like 10 videos on this, on like how to solve the issue of inner city gun violence, or just gun violence and misbehaving in general. Because it's so deep. And, you know, to quickly go into it, I mean, there's several factors to it. I mean, parenting is a major one. And, you know, not instilling values in children, lack of fathers in the home, the education system, the music industry promoting it, you know, several things to it. And I talk about some of this in the systemic racism video I did, on how sometimes it's almost systemically racist for how people don't really focus on solutions to these things, because, you know, oftentimes black people are the victims of this, and sometimes people, they see that and they don't really care enough about it. But anyway, I don't want to go on a tangent on all these subjects, because obviously I talk about so much deep stuff in this song, and unfortunately I can't go deep into every single topic in this video because I don't want it to be 10 hours long. It's already going to be super long to begin with. But anyway, let's go on to the next part of the song.
You don't say anything about that because you don't want to be a rat and say more about that, but you want to talk about that.
So rappers like Simpson and Tana, like I called out in a previous video, they really promote stuff like this, gun violence, stuff like that. In one of his music videos, he actually points a gun to the video. And if you don't think that stuff like that influences young people, you're just ignorant. You really are. You haven't spoken to many young people. You haven't been in the hood. You haven't worked in the schools. You don't really know how young people are influenced, because they are influenced by entertainment. That's a fact. And at the very least, too, even if you're, you know, having pushback to that, watch the music video. I believe there's literal teenagers, children in the music video. So those children obviously are influenced by people around them promoting violence, having guns, obviously. So guess what? In 5 to 10 years, those young teenagers are going to be those adults perpetuating those negative behaviors and then influencing the next generation. So that's how the cycle works. And the only way this cycle can be stopped is if the cowards out there that see that actually do something about it and stand up for what's right. And if you're having any pushback of this, like, oh, well, Brian, there's other things that are causing this, there's other factors, like, yes, fair enough, and let's talk about all of it. And you also may be asking, well, Brian, like, you're talking about this a lot, so what are the solutions to fix this besides just calling it out? Like, there has to be other solutions. Well, yeah, like I said before, I'll probably do a video series on solutions to gun violence, because it's very deep. And if you do want a preview to this, I do reference it a little bit in the See Humor skit I did on Positive News, where I referenced a few things that might be helpful to reduce the prevalence of inner city gun violence. So here's a clip from that video. So PNN is hosting a free town hall event featuring city government officials to provide tangible, positive solutions and programs to uplift our community. Can't go into it all here, but topics include a male mentorship program that includes incentives for participants, improving police and community relations through increased dialogue and understanding, reforming police training to include increased emphasis on positive psychology, counseling, and conflict resolution techniques, strengthening and diversifying the educational curriculum in the city, forming parenting networks in the city to increase parental collaboration, and discussions on how to strengthen self-love and foster healing hope through adversity. All great stuff, and we here at PNN are confident our community will rise up from the present challenges. So I really hope that over time people can tackle and address the root issues of gun violence, of disrespect, of maybe people lacking values. I really hope all that stuff is addressed. And at the same time though, I want to mention I'm a realist with this. So I know that the prevalence of one-parent households is way more right now than it was 20, 30 years ago. So what that tells me is the, say, 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds growing up now are more likely to have one parent than the 5 or 10-year-olds 20 years ago, right? And those 5 or 10-year-olds 20 years ago turned out to be those people doing the violent stuff today. So what that tells me is it's probably going to get a little bit worse before it gets better the next 10, 20 years, because there's even going to be more people who didn't have enough positive influences above them in 20 years, right? So that's a very disheartening thing, but I just want to mention that because it's a very long-term game that you have to play when it comes to reducing gun violence and just misbehaving activities, I believe. Because a lot of it stems from just people not having the value system instilled from their parents. And to fix that, that's going to be a long-term game to fix that.
Man, look up to the sun. You know you're not having fun. You say you're a real one. Well, at some point you gotta choose one. So stop protecting your gun and start protecting your son. Stop going to the slaughter and take care of your daughter.
Yeah, so for this part, the not having fun thing, that's in reference to the fact that most often people who commit violence or who chase the wrong things, they're deeply unhappy. Oftentimes, from my experience, they lack self-love too. They don't really love themselves. So it's a mental health issue too. So I do want to make that very clear. So though I use a lot of harsh language in this song, I'm honestly coming from a place of tough love. I really am, because I know directly former students I've had that have had this sort of lifestyle, that have had these sort of thoughts that I'm talking about, that have manifested even violence and fighting and all this stuff. And I really believe that tough love is the most necessary thing to address it from a one-to-one standpoint when you're talking to someone. And that's really important, because you can be understanding to how someone got to the point that they're at while still condemning their behavior. And I say, a lot of people, they say they're real, but if you're real, you got to choose one, a gun or your son. And I mean that symbolically, but in a way, very literally. Because some people think the way to protect your family is actually having a gun. Right, and look, if you just have a gun and you're a responsible gun user, that's fine. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about someone who actually takes a gun with them and actually tries to manifest that in the community and, tries to shoot at someone. Like, that's what I'm talking about. So some people, they think that actually would be protecting your family, right? Living the gangster lifestyle. But look, the way to protect your family is not going out with a gun, is not disrespecting someone on your block, is not living a gangster lifestyle, it's not trying to fight someone at any minor conflict. Right? Like, all of that stuff, that will put you and your family in harm's way. All that stuff is putting your ego first and your family second. It's being a coward with the wrong priorities. So you really have to understand that, I believe, if you're a coward watching this, manifesting that lifestyle, or if you're someone who is just on the outside looking in and you're maybe not understanding what I'm talking about in regards to that line or the video in general, right? Everything I'm talking about, like, I really believe, and I've thought about it to come to the conclusions that I did. Right? I may be wrong on some, but reference that in the comment. We can have a dialogue on it.
Stop being two-faced and two-faked. Like, wait, is it fake? Or are you an ace? You gotta get in the right mental space. Don't go for the chase and try to trace, but instead play your race and set the pace.
So I really think that people are inherently good deep down. I think people inherently have greatness in them. Right? Like, maybe 1 to 2% of people out there that maybe are truly evil, maybe from their DNA or maybe some extreme trauma from their childhood. But aside from that small minority of 1%ers, I really believe even people that do bad things, most of y'all are good-hearted people at heart. And if you're a coward out there, you have courage in you, and you really just have to find that. And I was really intentional with ending this song on a positive note, saying like, look, all these cowardice acts that I'm talking about, it does not have to be your fate. It does not. Like, you can choose to be an ace and psychologically get in the right mental space. It's going to take work, but you can do it. And real talk, if you're listening to this, I mentioned in a previous video, I got a Dominate Your Psychology 5-session coaching package for $500 that I'm offering. But I'm not selling that right now. What I'm selling is a free coaching session for 60 minutes for free. Like, if you mention this part of this video and say you're trying to get into a more positive mental space for yourself, maybe you're a coward, maybe you've done wrong things in your life, whatever, and you just want to get to a better spot, and this video is resonating with you and you want to talk to me directly one-on-one, I'll offer myself free of charge 1 hour session. So if you want to take advantage of that, hit me up. And I just want to end on this. It's so important to lead your own path. Probably nothing is more important in life. But you don't want to try to trace someone else's life. You really want to be ignited by your own priorities in life. So that's why I said play your race, because you really have to know what drives you. Right? Not what drives someone else. What drives you? What are you chasing? What is meaningful in your life? What gives you purpose? And you really got to find that out. Right? It takes courage to find that out. It takes courage to manifest all that stuff. So I really hope that I encourage you to manifest all that stuff and courageously be your best self through this song. That's what I was going for. So I want to end on this, and I want to end on the rest of the song. So enjoy the rest of the song. And look, I might do another song in the future. I'm not sure. It was a lot of work to come up with the lyrics, and I got a lot of stuff on my plate coming up. Second child due in about 3 months, among some other stuff. So, but I'm probably going to try to do another song in the next couple months. We'll see, though. That's not a guarantee. But anyway, hopefully you learn a lot from this analysis of my own song. So, you know, the intent is clear. I'm saying my intent in the song right in this video. So everything is laid out, plain as day, what I mean by this song. So I hope you take it to heart and, you know, get something positive from it. So let's end the rest of the song right now.
So stand up. Take positive power over your community, family, and yourself.
That's what you gotta do.
Be like those powerful cowards. I can go up for hours.
You know, to be honest, I'll just say now, the beat is a little off. You know, it's very challenging to do the beat. I'm more confident in the lyrics, but I agree the beat is a little off. It probably could be a little bit different in different parts, but I'm not the best at that. I'm open to that criticism. I really like the lightning part, though. Some people might think that's cheesy, but
anything that you set your mind to.
That's somewhat a reference to Eminem's song "Lose Yourself" too, where he says something similar at the end, by the way. So anyway, that's the song. Take care. Stand up and show courage. Comment down below your thoughts on the video.